Dana White once again proves that he is allergic to dropping news on days where I don't have a day off, because although normally I wouldn't be making a video on this day, Dana White decided to drop one of the biggest shocking, news that he has had in a long time by dropping 3 main events for pay-per-views. I'm going to talk about each one. I'm going to put a little timestamp here, so if you guys want to see me talk about specific fights, you guys can skip to that. Some fights are more exciting than the others, so I get that. Dana White came out in a video, a very short video, once again dropping some massive news. Over the weekend, we had heard that Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira might be headlining that Canada card. That was reported by Ariel Helwani, but because that was reported by Ariel, of course the UFC had to change their plans, and now maybe it looks like that Oliveira and Islam might be for UFC 200, maybe a little bit after that. I don't know. We're gonna get into all that, but first I want to remind you guys, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're trying to hit 20K by the end of the year. You guys are the best fan base in MMA, so you guys are gonna help me with that goal. And I'm gonna talk about the fights. First off, we're gonna talk about January. The UFC is going to Toronto, I believe. We heard about the co-main event this past weekend between Maryna Bueno Silva and Raquel Pennington. Now, this is for the vacant bantamweight women's title, and this has been a title that has been forgotten about by fans for good reason, because, yeah, the women's division, especially the bantamweight division, has not been exciting in a very long time. I feel like strawweight and flyweight are very, exciting women's divisions right now, especially flyweight right now. And I thought this was a very weird announcement, because if you guys don't know, Bueno Silva actually didn't win her last fight, and you guys would maybe be thinking, hey, didn't she submit Holly Holm in that second round in her main event? And yes, while that was a very impressive submission, it turned out she tested positive for some sort of drug test. I don't really remember the whole details of the situation, but she was suspended and now she's back. Juliana Pena, I thought would take place in this. Turns out she's injured. That makes sense. She's most likely going to fight the winner. She's the biggest name in the women's bantamweight division right now, so I was surprised not to see her there, but it just looks like the winner is going to wind up fighting her. But more importantly, the main event between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis was officially announced. Khamzat Chimaev, I guess, will not be getting the next middleweight title shot, which is probably for the best. Khamzat Chimaev, I thought, had a very bad performance against Kamaru Usman and showed a lot of the flaws that I've been telling you guys that Khamzat Chimaev has. It was a matchup that I expected to see. I didn't think we would wind up seeing Khamzat and Sean Strickland after all. Now, I think you should probably give Khamzat another fight. That's just my opinion. Maybe against Adesanya at UFC 300, just throwing it out there. And yeah, I like this matchup a lot. Obviously, Dricus Du Plessis did deserve the next title shot by beating Robert Whittaker the way he did. Nobody thought that that was going to happen. Knocked him out in that second round. Absolutely crazy, and pretty much dominated him. I mean, he won the first round. Robert Whittaker had some moments on the feet, yes, but I thought that Dricus Du Plessis overall did better. And Sean Strickland obviously coming off of that performance against Adesanya. Now, who do I think is going to win right now? I don't necessarily have a prediction. I do think that maybe Dricus Du Plessis can incorporate some of that grappling and mix it up. Right now, I think I'm kind of leaning towards Sean Strickland, but Dricus Du Plessis is a guy that can commit, that has power, so maybe he could knock out Sean Strickland. Next, in February, we have the main event. Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria are going to headline that February card. Now, right now, there is no clue where this fight is going to take place, but Ilia Topuria put out an awesome promo, which I suggest you guys check out. It was really cool, but it said at the end that it was going to be in Los Angeles, California. Last time they were in Los Angeles, I believe, was 2018, right? That was about like 5 years ago or so. They did go to Anaheim, I believe, in 2022, but yeah, Los Angeles hasn't been there in a long time. And what do I think about the match between Alexander Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria? I'm excited because Ilia Topuria, man, the promo got me hyped. Ilia Topuria looks like he's going to market up the fight. Volkanovski's going to be hungry after that loss to Islam Makhachev, where he got knocked out brutally in that first round. And while although it did seem like that Volkanovski was pushing to headline that January card, I didn't think it was a good idea, guys. I said, look, that this was too soon of a turnaround. I thought that he was only going to get hurt. I mean, the guy got concussed badly by Islam, man. The guy was almost out cold. Some of those ground and pound shots, I mean, I think if Islam would have went a little bit longer, I think we would have saw Volkanovski out for a lot longer. But yeah, the guy got brutally knocked out, and we're going to see him, return down to featherweight to defend his title against an undefeated Ilia Topuria, who has looked sensational so far, dominating Josh Emmett the way that he did. And he's gotten a lot of cool knockouts on the way. However, this is a massive jump in competition for Ilia Topuria, right? Volkanovski is not Josh Emmett. And I will say my prediction right now is Alexander Volkanovski. I think that Alexander Volkanovski, a big question mark for me is the knockout, because we do see, a lot of people around that age, a lot of people when they get knocked out, we kind of see them falling down, especially going down a weight class after getting used to the speed at lightweight. We saw him do well against, Yair Rodriguez, but going down a weight against a guy that's already fast with knockout power in both hands, it's dangerous. And a guy that has a finishing ability, on the ground, on the feet, Ilia is good everywhere and can finish Volkanovski. However, look, at the end of the day, I think with his jiu-jitsu, I think that Volkanovski is going to probably keep it on the feet, and I think he's going to make it a longer fight. I think he's going to try to use his jab, use his distance, use the leg kicks, and I think he's going to outstrike Ilia Topuria, and I think it's going to be a really good performance at Alexander Volkanovski. Although I feel like anytime I say something like that, where someone is going to have a good performance against somebody, it always winds up not happening. So I take that back. Who knows what's going to happen with Volkanovski? Maybe Ilia Topuria wins. I think it's going to be interesting to see, Ilia Topuria in the pocket, because we have seen Volkanovski dropped in the pocket, like against Chad Mendes, he was knocked down. And Ilia Topuria as a much younger guy, a guy that has been more active recently, and a undefeated guy. He's gonna have the confidence going into this matchup. He's very confident. He's talking trash to Volkanovski. I'm super excited, man. The promo got me hyped. I'm signed in. Let's get down to it. February, UFC 298 and UFC 299 is officially now going to be headlined by Suga Sean O'Malley. He's going to be defending his title against his rival Chito Vera in a rematch. Now, this is just a joke of a matchup. I'm going to be honest. I made a video a while ago talking about the UFC kind of framing and, you know, kind of just faking O'Malley's title reign. You can't have a title defense like this. Look, I get it. If O'Malley lost to Aljo, do whatever fight you want. It's a fun fight. It makes sense. And yes, Marlon Vera is coming off of a win against Pedro Munoz. And maybe if he got a win over Henry Cejudo like he was supposed to, maybe then I could understand it. However, Corey Sandhagen's going to be available. Merab's going to be available. Merab and Henry Cejudo are going to fight in January. I didn't mention that when talking about the January card, but that also is in the works / official almost. So whoever wins that one, I mean, there's going to be a title fight in 2 months from then, and then what? We're going to see the winner of that fight next, and then what happens with Corey? The whole thing is a mess in my opinion. Like, seriously, giving Marlon Vera the title shot makes absolutely no sense. Like, this is just creating a problem just for money purposes. We're literally creating this problem where you could have maybe Corey fight O'Malley in March, have the matchup between Merab and Cejudo, and then the winner of that fights the winner of Merab and Cejudo, and Marlon Vera maybe gets another matchup. Maybe Vera fights Song Yadong in a rematch in Shanghai. That would be an interesting fight to headline there. Of course, they wound up picking Chris Gutierrez. So let me stop talking about the politics of all what's gonna happen. O'Malley and Vera too. Obviously, Vera is the only loss that O'Malley has had so far, and that loss, I'm just gonna say it was kind of a fluke loss. He kicked his legs. A lot of people want to give Marlon Vera a lot more credit than he deserves for that win, but in my opinion, look, he just landed a kick. O'Malley rolled over his ankle and clearly just wasn't 100% in that fight. I don't think you could take a lot away from that fight and say, hey, that this is going to apply in a rematch. We've seen that O'Malley has check kicks a lot more recently. It felt like it took him a while to finally close that gap, but yeah, now I think it's kind of closed, and I think we could possibly see Marlon Vera set up leg kicks, you know, by throwing things upstairs and landing leg kicks behind it, but I don't think leg kicks are necessarily going to be the end-all be-all. I think O'Malley's going to win this one easily. I mean, when you see how Corey Sandhagen, yes, I guess Corey Sandhagen really just grappled him, and O'Malley's not going to do that. When you look at Rob Font even, right, Rob Font's not even as good of a striker as O'Malley is, and while Marlon Vera did lose the fight and hurt him multiple times, that was a Rob Font that missed weight, that had just gone to war with Jose Aldo, and he was still doing very decent against Marlon Vera. Like, outside of those knockdowns, he was winning most of those exchanges. It was really just the fact that Marlon Vera kept knocking him down that the judges had to score it, of course, for Marlon Vera. So I think this is a pretty easy matchup for Sean O'Malley. I think this is a, you know, guaranteed win for him. Can Marlon Vera, you know, come up with a finish as he always does? Of course, and that's what makes him very dangerous. As much as I call the O'Malley win a fluke, you know, a lot of people call his other wins a fluke. They're not fluke. You could see him setting up a lot of those shots, finding holes in people's games and setting up knockouts and finishes. Like what he did with Dominic Cruz when he got that head kick. That was a totally set up head kick based on the head movement of Dominic Cruz. You could see him, you know, analyzing it in real time and getting those finishes. So there's always a threat with him. He's a guy that likes to get finishes. Last thing I want to talk about is the only main event that was not announced. UFC 300 is next, guys, man. It is insane. UFC 300 is going to be next year, maybe in April, maybe at the end of March if they do 2 pay-per-views then. My guess is going to be Conor McGregor is going to headline UFC 300 just based on how everything is playing out. It could be Islam and Charles. That is a pretty big fight. Charles Oliveira is a big fighter right now, and Islam Makhachev is, of course, has a huge fan base. But quite honestly, my dream UFC 300 card as of right now, seeing what's possible, seeing that now we know the main events beforehand, I think they should do Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor as the main event, and maybe as a co-main event, a 5-rounder fight between Israel Adesanya and Hamza Chimaev. Maybe throw a few other fights on there. But if that's the main and co-main event, I think you could have a pretty mid rest of the card and people would still be very hyped because that is a phenomenal card with 2 megastars. Yeah, that would be absolutely crazy. But that's gonna be my guess. Could be Charles, could be Islam as well. But guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What fight are you guys mostly excited for? What do you think is gonna headline UFC 300? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys predict about these fights. Thank you guys for watching, guys. The best fan base in MMA, and I'll see you guys in the next one.